Welcome back. Today I will attempt to solve some chess puzzles on chess.com as part of my daily chess development. If you're new to my channel, I'm not a titled player or a chess coach. As with many other chess YouTubers, I'm just a random person who enjoys chess and I'm hoping to get better at it. One way is to try to solve chess puzzles. I'm just going to click solve puzzles and go. I made it to 1884 last time. I was hoping to break 1900 last time, but it didn't work out. In this puzzle, I am down very slightly on material. Yes, my opponent has two bishops for one of my rooks. Well, the first thing that I look for is checks, and I only have one check in this position, and that's not a very good one. And even if that bishop wasn't there, they could block with their queen, and then we would trade queens, and I would be down still. So, are there any captures? I actually don't have any captures in this position. Let's see, are there any threats? I don't know why, but my first instinct was to go here to threaten this pawn, but they would just trade queens with me. And yes, I would get a passed pawn. No, that one's not passed because they still have their d-pawn. That would give them a passed pawn, and I don't want that. Okay, so the second threat that I see is down here, threatening that bishop that's guarding that square. What would they do in that case? I would also be threatening the check at that point. If they pull the bishop out to save it, like, for example, if they drop the bishop back to a8, then I can do the check, and if they block with the queen, which I think they would have to, then I can win their rook. Okay, if I go queen to c7 and they drop the rook back to protect the bishop, then I still check back here and then I win the rook after they block with the queen. If they put the bishop anywhere else, then I still get one of these checks and win the rook. Okay, so it's probably queen to c7, but what will my opponent play? That's the question. I just don't know what my opponent is actually going to play if I go there. I don't know. Maybe they'll take this pawn, which threatens this rook down here, but then I guess I could take it and then they would have to take with the queen and then I would win the bishop. Okay, what else could they do? They could protect the bishop by pushing their d-pawn, and then their queen would be protecting the bishop. And if I took the queen and they took back, then I'm still down a piece. What do I do in that instance? Oh, in that instance, I would not take their queen. I would still check, and then they would have to block with the queen, and then I would take the bishop. Okay, I'm going to try queen to c7. Okay, they did move that pawn. Well, then I'm going to do the thing that I just said, which is check, and then I think they have to block with the queen, and then I'll win that bishop. Hopefully that's it. Okay, and then take the bishop, and now I'm threatening the rook as well. Next puzzle. Right? They have jumped in, they have two pieces pointed at this rook, and their rook is in turn defended. Let's see, what's the material count? We both have a queen, we each have a rook here, but for my other rook, they have two minor pieces. Okay, so it's kind of like the last puzzle where they had two minor pieces for one of my rooks. Otherwise, we're very close to even on pawns, it looks like. Well, I guess let's look for checks first. I have this check and and that one, but that's bad. I thought about, what about pushing this pawn forward? Because then I'm threatening checkmate. Can they stop that? Can they check me? They can take my rook, they can take my rook, they can't check me with the queen, they can check me with the knight though, in which case I would take it, I guess, or I would have to. I know this technically isn't a check, but it's a threat of checkmate, which I happened to see when I was looking at checks. But another thing that I did think of was to take the rook. If they took back, then I would get their knight. Oh no, because that knight is protected. Okay, so I'm thinking it's probably f3. I'm going to play f3. Oh, it stopped. I didn't have to worry about that other stuff. Wait, and I got that one really quick, but still only 5 points. Okay, well, a month or so ago, I was complaining that this new puzzle system, you got too many points. There was a couple of times where I took like 2 minutes and still got 17 points, and that was weird. But now it feels like they've gone the other way. Even when you solve a puzzle quickly, you only get 5 points. Interesting. But I am going to look at the analysis board on this one. I'm curious as to what I would do after f3. As to what my opponent would do. It says they would check me bishop to e3 check, and it would be worse to check with the knight. Okay, but if they checked there, then I would just take it with, if I took with my rook, that wouldn't be as good, but I would still be ahead. But I would play g5 would be my best move, and they would take it, and it would be my best move to take back, and then they would check me on c5, and h6 or g6 would be my best moves, not taking the knight. Well, my instinct here would be to take the knight, so how bad would that be? Okay, I would still be ahead, just not as much, because now they can check me here, and I still have a mating sequence, even if they played their best move. Okay, at first it didn't say that I had a mating sequence. It still says h6 and g6 are my best moves, but when I go here, I still have a mate in 8, so okay, so that's not that bad. All right, I was curious, backing up just a little bit though, if instead of checking with the bishop, they checked with the knight, I would have a mate even faster. Okay, I was correct that I would just take it, and then they would do this, and I would have to play g5 or king to g7, but they would just have to start giving away pieces because they can't stop this, apparently. All right, next puzzle. Oh, we're down to just queens and kings. Okay, there is a check over here, but they can block that with their queen. Any other checks? Yes, I have a check here. I have a check here. I have a check way over there, which threatens their only passed pawn. That's their only passed pawn on the board. So I have a multitude of checks. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not even going to count that one. And 5 checks, 5 safe checks. It doesn't make sense to check in order to threaten this pawn because I can just take that pawn now. How much danger am I in? That is a good question. For example, if I take the pawn now, is that checkmate? No, because I would get out, but then they would get a pawn with check, and then I'm not sure where I would go. Let's see. If I check queen to a4, I'm going to assume they have to block with the queen. Because they can't move here or here or here or here or there. Yeah, so they would have to block with the queen, and then would I take it? Because if I took it, that gives them a second passed pawn. And I cannot both get over here to block it with my king and stop their middle passed pawn on the e-file. Well, then if my goal is to get rid of one of their passed pawns, should I take it first or should I check first or check first? I don't know. Yeah, sorry, I have no idea. I'm going to take the pawn. Okay, I didn't think that was right, but I have no idea. It says, well, then they're going to go down here. It says, unfortunately, once I go here, and I think by here they mean F8, you don't have a strong follow-up. Well, of course not. I already knew that. Okay, well, what does the analysis board say? After the opponent moves their king over there, which was a big blunder, I have mate in 3. Okay, it does start with queen to a4, which is the first check that I saw, and they're going to block with their queen, but then I'm going to come in here and check. Oh, okay, so kind of a boomerang or a yo-yo. I go out there and then I come back, and they can block with their queen or go down. Those are their only 2 choices. If they go down, I have mate. If they block with the queen, I have mate. Okay, well, I do perfectly understand that. I just couldn't see it from here. So check here. I did say that they had to block with the queen, but at that point I didn't know what to do. But what I have to do is come back. Okay, so go up here, come back, and then checkmate this way. Okay, that was a mate in 3. Oh my goodness. Okay, next. And now I'm that much further from 1900. In this one, we are about even on material, including pawns. It's just that they have a bishop for my knight. Are any of my pieces under threat right now? Yes, my queen is under threat right now. Okay, well then, I don't want to leave it there, probably. But it looks like I have a simple fork here, which is to check, and then I would win the bishop. That looks really simple, but I don't see anything else. I'm going to try that. Oh, but the bishop's defended. Why didn't I see that? I wouldn't have gone there if I'd realized that this bishop was defended. Oh my goodness. Well, then I don't know what to do. Oh, but my knight's guarding the bishop, so I just take it and then take that. Okay, so now I'm a piece ahead. Oh wow, yeah, okay. There was a little bit of mental fumbling on that one. So next puzzle, hopefully we won't repeat that. Have a check. I mean, that one just loses a knight, so it's probably not knight to e3. But what about queen to h1? They can't come up this way, so they would have to come up there. Queen to h1 check. Oh, I can just take their queen with my bishop. I just now saw that. Oops. But going on with my check here, their king is forced to come up to e2. At which point I would check with my queen by taking on g2. They could not come up because of my knight, or obviously stay on the second rank because of my queen, so that would only leave them one legal move, which is to go down between the rook and the bishop, and then I could check here with the queen, but then they could block or move out. I would have just picked up 2 pawns, and when they get out, then I take their queen? Oh my. Oh, also I just wrote, no, I can't take their queen. My bishop's pinned. I just now saw that. Well. Okay, so back to the drawing board. What if I take the rook first? That forces them to take it. That's the only reason I'm considering it. And then the bishop isn't pinned. Then I can check over here. They would just move over. I don't know. The reason I thought of taking that first is because then my bishop's not pinned, but that doesn't help anything. Okay, so if I check here, they get in front of the rook and then I take the queen. But they still have all those other pieces left. I don't know if that would be enough. No, because then my queen would be in danger. Back to the drawing board again. That's still the only check besides the one that just loses a knight? No. The knight can check over here. I just now saw that. But then they have multiple choices. Obviously, if they chose g2, I would win the rook. But what if they did the one in front of the rook, then I would get their queen. Maybe that's it. I'm going to try that. Oh, it wasn't it. Okay, sorry. I just didn't want to waste any more time on it. So the opponent pushed that pawn, gives me mate in 1. Oh boy, that did give me mate in 1. Oh my goodness. Back to this. If I restart, why did I not see this check? I saw that one. I saw giving away the queen for the rook, but I did not see just going part way. So I need to be more diligent about checking all my checks. And now I'm at 1878, which, if I'm not mistaken, is lower than where I started this video. I have this little standoff. The two knights are guarding that bishop, so I don't think I should take it. I could take that knight first, and when they take back, then take the bishop, and if they take back, then I get this, and I would be up ahead. Okay, why not try that, and then take this and the knight? Okay, well, that one was pretty easy, but I went really fast and still only got 5 points. Maybe that's all you can get now. I know they've been fiddling with the setup of the puzzles for a few months anyway. It's been changing quite a bit. Oh, and that puzzle was only rated 1300. All right. Let's be careful about looking for all the checks. I have a check with the rook. Do I have any other checks? The knight, the bishop, the pawns, none of those can check. But if I take g7, they take back. Okay, well, let's look at captures. I could take this bishop, but they take with their knight. I can take this pawn, but they'll get my bishop with their rook. I can take this pawn over here on c5, which threatens their knight. And if they move the knight, then I get the bishop. Are we even on material now? Let's see. We both have 2 rooks. And we both have 2 minor pieces. Okay, it's probably ridiculous, but I'm going to take the c5 pawn. Oh, that was it. And so now I get the knight for free? Let's see. They've moved their rook over 1 for a reason. Is that so they can come down here? But if they did, I would just take it. And then they would take this rook. That would be a rook trade, but I would already be up a piece by taking the knight. So I'm going to take the rook now. And all right, that one seemed fairly cut and dried, but I mean, I doubted when I took the c5 pawn that was the right answer, but it turned out to be, so good for me. Next puzzle, I still have 12 points to go if I wanted to break 1900. This is not working out the way I had hoped. Black to move. I'm going to guess it's pushing this pawn, but no, it's not pushing the pawn because then they would take my rook. So it's not that. It's not checking because I cannot check. Let's see. If I push the pawn, they take, and I push the pawn, and they push their pawn, then I promote. Oh, maybe it is pushing the pawn. Did I count that right? If I start by pushing the pawn, I assume they're going to take my rook. They don't have to, but they could. And if they did, and I had pushed the pawn, and they would push, and I would promote with check before they got to promote theirs. Okay, so what if they didn't take my rook with the pawn, but I started with b3? What do they play? Do they push past? And then I go to b2, and then they move their rook over here, and then I take it, and they take me, and then I promote. I'm going to push the pawn. They did take it, okay. Oh, they went down there, so I'm going to promote. Well, that worked out, and yeah, that one I felt like it did take a little longer, but still just exactly 5 points. Okay, I have time left for another couple of puzzles, and I would sure like to break 1900. That's not my only goal here. It's not my main goal. My main goal is to get better at chess. I don't have any pieces left. All I have is pawns. Okay. Well, if I take that, they're 3 moves from promotion. If I move here, I assume they're going to go past, and then when I promote, they're going to take that, and then I can't move the next pawn. Okay, so let's say I take this. They shoot forward with their e pawn to e6, or would they take it? They wouldn't take, right? If I take on d5, they're not going to take with the knight because then that lets this pawn go. No, it doesn't, because then they come back. Oh, so if I take here, and they take... Okay, so if I take this pawn and they take it, then I come over. Maybe that's what I'm going to try. Oh, they did take it. Okay, well then it has to be this. Because if I move my b pawn, they bring the knight back and they're guarding the promotion square. If I move my c pawn, they take it and then they're guarding the promotion square. So I think I'm going to bring my king over, but then they can check me and I'll take this pawn and then they can take this pawn. Oh my. Okay, king to f5. It was not king to f5. Okay, well then I have no idea what it was. That was exhausting and demoralizing as well. Okay, so we figured this part out, but not this part. This part I had to play b2. Okay, so why are they not going to go back to knight to c3? They are. And then I would have played king to f5. And it says they're going to play e6. Okay, well they're going to play e6 while I take it. Now what? I assume they would take this. Then I would have to play king to e5. I don't know how far the puzzle would have gone. Let's restart this puzzle. No, I said restart the puzzle. Oh, that's frustrating. Okay, it's not going to restart. There's no button to restart it, even though there was a restart button, but it just restarts to the last move. Okay, so it was playing b2, so they have to go back. Then I bring my king over. Then I take this pawn. They take that one, and then I move forward. And then I move forward again. That's what it would have been. Okay, I want to restart the puzzle from the beginning. Okay, so I figured out that I had to take this pawn first, but I was wrong that I had to move my king next. I don't know what the problem with that was, but Stockfish said that's a problem. I had to move this, then come for this pawn, then take it, then come for their knight, and they would have to move the knight and stop guarding the promotion square. I assumed they would get in front of the pawn, but then I would just come get it. Well, it does look like I ended the video with a lower score than I started it, at least according to that very hard to read graph. So I have some work to do. I don't know how I would have seen this from the beginning. That many only moves in a row. I don't have time to do another puzzle, so I'm gonna go back here. No, back here. Why was it bad to go toward the pawn now? And they said that's because they would go to knight to e3. And when I take this pawn, they're gonna take that one. But then am I not going to go toward it? And then what do? It says they can just go b2. Okay, well, can I not go toward it? It says they would play knight to a4 check. Can I not come forward one? It doesn't matter because they're going to take here and I can't advance this pawn. I also can't bring my king around it to come after the knight. I understand. I don't know how I'm going to see that from the beginning. Thank you for spending your time here. Hopefully I'll do better in the next one. See you next time.